Are you ready to think big and act bold? Then you are in the right place. This is Innovative Entrepreneurs, a podcast that will bring you the stories, insights, and tips from some of the most successful and innovative entrepreneurs in the world. I am your host, Erica Bailey, and I am here to help you start, scale, and sustain your own entrepreneurial journey. Let's get started.
Today, I have a very special guest. You're going to hear me use the word marketing and agency, and you may be wondering why Erica is interviewing another marketing agency. Here's my answer. Number one, I believe there's enough for everybody. So I have no concerns about competition. I also believe that we need to learn from other thought leaders in our own industries. So it is an honor that I'm bringing Barry LaBov on this show with us. Barry is a two-time Ernst Young Entrepreneur of the Year and the brilliant mind behind LaBov Marketing Communications and Training. His agency helps brands stand out and thrive in competitive markets. Barry's upcoming book, The Power of Differentiation, did I say that right? Differentiation. Yeah. Aims to inspire over 1 million people globally. He is sharing insights on how to win hearts, minds, and market share. Beyond his business achievements, Barry brings a creative touch from his days as a musician, applying those lessons into his successful ventures. So let's dive into Barry's journey and learn how he makes brands unforgettable. Welcome, Barry.
Thank you, Erica. It's a pleasure. I love your energy. You got a lot of energy. That's great.
I do. I really enjoy what I do, and I'm blessed to wake up every day, and I'm grateful for all those who get to learn from us. So it makes me happy. So real quick, before we dive into this, tell me about this musical history. Like, what did you play?
Well, way back when I had hair, which was before the turn of the century, I was about 14 years old. I was in a rock band with my brother, and I wrote songs. I played drums, I sang, and with my right hand, I played the organ. So I was a quite efficient performer, not necessarily very good to listen to, but I was very efficient. But what it did is it really got me involved with the idea of being creative. That got me going. I got so excited, and it ended up being my calling in life. And I ended up starting a marketing company by accident. It wasn't on purpose, but I started one, and it's grown over the years to the point where I work with great companies like Harley Davidson and Macallan Scotch, but also a lot of smaller companies that are just as good and just as fun to work with.
Fantastic. So you said you created your marketing agency by accident. What does that mean?
Well, here's what it means. I was in a rock band. I was in my late 20s. My music had sold well under 1 million copies. So we were not making a lot of money, but it was a good band. And we had hopes of, becoming successful. At the same time, I had a jingle company. I was doing those irritating little ditties that you hear on the radio. You go, oh, God, I can't stand it. Anyway, I was doing those. And then tragedy struck in my life. My father became ill, and then he passed away at a relatively young age. And it dawned on me at that point in my late 20s that, you know what, maybe I'm not guaranteed to live forever. So at that moment, I just gave myself permission, Erica, to decide what to do. And I decided to follow my business, my jingle business. But I gave myself 6 months that if I wanted to turn back and go back to the rock band, go do it. And I never did. I never looked back. What then happened was one of my clients that I did some of those audio musical recordings for called me up and said, hey, I want you. And this is a lesson maybe for some of the young entrepreneurs that listen. They called me up and they said, hey, I want you to take over our marketing department. We'll sell you our equipment. You can become our agency for 3 years. We'll give you all our business. And being the amazing entrepreneur that I was at the time, I said, no, thank you. I just want to follow audio. But here are a bunch of agencies that may take it on. So they said, okay. So 3 months later, they called me up and said, hey, we want you to take over our marketing department and be our agency for 3 years. And I said, okay, here are a bunch of other names. Here are other companies that can do it. This went on. And then one day, about a year later, I got a phone call. And one of my people said, hey, it's the client on the phone again. I went, oh, when are they going to stop asking me this? So they asked me again. They said, will you please be our marketing partner? And I said, why do you keep coming back to me? You know, I've given you all these names, yet you keep calling me. Why? And the client said, because we trust you. And I went, oh. So I said, okay. And he said, what? I said, okay, let's do it. He said, really? And I took it on. Now that sounds like, wow, what a lucky guy. It was all great. I took it on. That department was a disaster. The people hated working there. 2 or 3 of them were on serious drugs and never showed up again. Most of their projects were bogus. They were really not valid projects. It was a disaster, but I did have the contract for 3 years, which was a nice amount of money, not enough to retire on, of course. But what I also didn't understand, Erica, well, I was at the time a jingle company, and my clients were what? Well, they were ad agencies. And guess what? They all dropped me as soon as I became an agency. So I lost all my clients other than the one that gave me the business. And what happened was I loved it. I got very involved with marketing, not just music. Started getting involved with videos, got involved with websites, all those things. I just loved it. And I learned that my love was not music, it was being creative. And then within 1 year, I was picked as Ernst Young's Entrepreneur of the Year. So it all happened pretty quickly as soon as I finally focused myself on one thing instead of straddling the fence.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. The focusing on the one thing, giving yourself
Yeah.
an easy vision as to the direction you're heading. I really do think that opens up our minds and gives us the ability to have the mindset to say, this is what I want. And when you have that clear vision and idea of what you want, it really can drive you to achieve amazing things. And that kind of sounds like what I'm hearing. You know, Jason and I started our agency on accident in a way as well. It was 15 years ago, and I had a master's degree and he had a bachelor's degree, and we could not find jobs because the housing market had just collapsed. And at the time we were in Arizona, and it was a challenge. Like, we couldn't find jobs. And so we just said, you know what? We understand SEO. We understand social media. And this was before social was cool, right? And so we just said, okay, we're going to start a company. And our why was, I want to be here for my kids at every football game, every doctor's appointment, every day I just want to take off. You know, I wanted to be able to have that freedom for my family. So that was really my why, as to how I created the company with Jason. And it really has been our why ever since. I mean, I love elevating brands. I love bringing people to new heights. But for me, I wanted to have the time freedom, and I'm not great at working for corporate overlords. So it didn't really work out that way for me, but I'm glad that we had the vision and we went that direction. And I think that's fantastic. Creatives are beautiful people. They can be challenging because they're so particular. And sometimes I'm assuming you're like, okay, I'm not in love with this. I just got to keep. And so kind of pick on yourself on your own things. But thanks for sharing that story. So you kind of talked about how you first got into entrepreneurship. And so what inspired you, am I hearing it correctly, is that you were brought into this company, you really felt good and excited about what you're doing. Was there another why as to why you decided to be an entrepreneur? Or did that really start at that young age of 14?
Well, this is maybe of interest. I grew up with my mom telling me I should be an entrepreneur like her father, who ran a business and ran many businesses, and he was a very successful man. I never met him. He passed away before I was born. But I heard her talking about business, Erica, and I said to her, I don't know how many times, Mom, I hate business. I don't want to hear about business. And she said, oh, but you could be a great salesperson like your grandfather. I don't want to sell. I hate selling and all this. And I grew up not wanting to do any of that. Okay. So, but I think I'm a victim of brainwashing because somewhere in there, it started to connect with me. And so I never wanted to be an entrepreneur or a business person. I wanted to be creative. I just didn't realize you could be creative and be a business person. I didn't realize that. And it took me a while. I had to reframe what I'm doing. I was a terrible salesperson at first. I was so bad that I reached out trying to find somebody who could teach me in town. And here's another thing I'll share with the youngins that are listening in. I found the name of this one guy named Mike, who was the greatest salesperson in Fort Wayne, Indiana. His name is Mike Huddleston, if he's out there listening. Great guy. I had never met him. So I thought, I'm going to get gutsy, get some courage going here. I'm going to call him up. So I called him up about 10 o'clock one morning. And I said, Mike, you don't know me, but I'm a lousy salesperson. I've got a business. I need help. I'd love to learn from you. I hear you're the best. And there's a little silence. And then he said, okay, what are you doing at 11:30 this morning? And I said, well, I'm not doing anything. He said, let's go to lunch. So we went to lunch and he gave me all these great ideas. And I said, hey, I was picking up the tab for lunch. I said, Mike, why did you spend this time with me? And he said, you got to understand, Barry. He said, very few people ask me for help. He said, so it's an honor for me to help somebody. So I love it. And to this day, Mike and I are still connected. We see each other on social media. And without him, I don't know where I would have been. But I had to humble myself. That's what happened.
That's amazing. Yeah. Humbling yourself. That's a good way to phrase it. Yeah. Sales is not my forte. It still isn't after 15 years.
I was called a lethal weapon by people in sales because of my approach, which was an anti-sales approach. So I literally would sit down with a client and I would say, now I'm not a salesperson. I'm a creative guy. So I'm going to miss a bunch of sales cues as we talk through this, but I'm going to show you what I think you could do and what we could do to help you. And they would literally lean in and go, okay, we want to hire you before I could even start talking, because it was so different than the other people that would walk in and, go along with everything, go, ha, 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 laugh and giggle and everything's funny and, ha, 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 and then get real serious and try to close the deal. And I was like the anti-sales guy.
Okay.
And it turned out great.
Turned out to work for you, huh?
It worked for me, yeah.
Are you in Fort Wayne? My family is from Fort Wayne, Chesterton. I think my mom went to nursing school in Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I'm from Fort Wayne, and I also live 3 months of the year in Arizona in North Scottsdale.
Okay. Where I lived in Mesa and Chandler. Most of my life, I just moved over about 4.5 years ago. So gotta love it. So I'm assuming it's not the summers that you spend your time there, right?
No, I've been able to organize my life so that in the colder times of the year, I'm in Arizona trying to play golf, looking at a beautiful view. And then I come to Indiana for most of the year and I love it here. So I get the best of both worlds.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you are a brand strategist. That's kind of where the creative comes for. And you've worked with diverse clients across all sorts of industries. I mean, your portfolio is impressive. What's your secret sauce? I mean, you don't have to tell us all of it, right? But what's your secret sauce for helping brands?
I'll tell you about it. Okay. Perfect. I focus only on one thing, which is differentiation. Okay. So I focus on that. I don't claim to be a media buyer or anything like that. I have a process that's 5 steps. There is one step that nobody in the world does that I know of. If they do, I want them to reach out to me. We go through those steps with our clients and we just say, hey, if you are willing to be very vulnerable, very open, we will come into your facility and we will look for some sort of unique differentiation that could set you apart from the competition. And we explain that to them. And then, Erica, one thing we share that they have to do if they want to work with us is once we determine what the differentiation is, and we're able to create language around it, make sure it's able to be, you could call it packaged, communicated, whatever. They must do one thing, and that is before it's launched to the world, drum roll, they must celebrate it with the most important people, their employees, and all who support it, because you cannot go launch this brand and have it out there and have people walk up and say, "Hey, Erica, I hear your company's launching this new product. What's it about?" And you go, "I have no idea. The powers that be don't talk to me." You can't do that. So that's what we do. We do that. And that's what's so important. We help clients realize that they have magic right there below their feet. They're stepping on magic, walking by magic. They've got magic. We find it. It's not 700 different things. It's generally 1, 2, or 3 things. And we allow the people who are part of it to feel significant. They feel like I actually have worth. Look what I'm doing. So it's a very, very positive existence for me. I mean, I get so excited. I feel so rewarded helping people realize that they've already done great things. They just need to discover it, not try to create something that they're not, but honor, discover what you do best.
Those are perfect words. So my master's is in organizational behavior and well, it's in business, but organizational behavior. And I truly believe that if you make your staff employees brand ambassadors through love and kindness and sharing that vision with them, that is the first step for success. No matter what you do in what industry, if you can show your team that they are more valuable than you even, right? Because it doesn't work unless you have them. They become brand ambassadors, which means that you've got the referral basis, down packed, right? Because people want to share what they're doing. So I love that you're saying that you want people to honor and find and discover that new identity or that identity, and making sure that they're sharing it and sharing that love with your team, because they are the very first step. So I think that is fantastic. So differentiation, basically that is standing out among the crowd, right? Is that how you describe it, or what?
I'll give you an example. Differentiation does not mean superiority. So a lot of people get all messed up and they go, "Oh God, but we're not the best that we are." And I go, I didn't say you're the best. I say you're a little different. There was that famous supermodel, Cindy Crawford, and she had that birthmark or mole, and her family wanted her to remove it. She was afraid if she did, there'd be scars. And here she was, a model and all this. She decided not to do it. And all of a sudden, she accepted it. And instead of hiding it in all of her photos, she let it be shown. And that beauty mark or birthmark became her signature. And it is how, when I started to mention that model who had the mole or the birthmark, oh yeah, Cindy Crawford. Okay, she didn't have that. She had nothing. Now, does that make her superior? No. But it's distinctive. It's no different than in rock music. If you like one band, if you like Neil Young, great. You like his singing, or you like Bob Dylan singing, and that's what's distinctive, great. You can tell it's a Bob Dylan song. Doesn't mean he's a good singer. It just means he's distinctive. He's unique. And the worst thing we can do, Erica, is get rid of what makes us unique. And we try to cut it out. And then there are scars. It doesn't work. So what I look at is, when we talk about differentiation, is the 1, 2, or 3 things you focus on. And you then make sure that you constantly build on that. That's what you're about. My company's about differentiation. If somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, we have that figured out. What we want is," I'll make it up, "we want someone that's going to help us with a big multi-million media buy for TV."
Okay.
Well, it's like, we're not a good fit for you. Now, that doesn't mean my differentiation uniqueness is bad. It just means it's not a good fit. And that's
Mhm.
what we have to also realize. We're not going to be a good fit for everybody. I only want maybe 2 new clients or 3 new clients a year. I don't want more than that. I couldn't do justice to the ones I'm already working with.
Mhm.
So the ones I do bring on, they ought to really be a good fit, because if not, they are a nightmare. And you know what that's like dealing with clients. There are clients that are nightmares, and there are clients that are, oh my gosh, they're like the greatest people.
Mhm.
They're the greatest people. And most of my clients are great. I'm not the guy that says clients are the problem. I think clients are great.
Yeah. But there's always that one. I mean, we've all experienced it. There's always that
Um,
one that you just can't make happy no matter what.
I'm not a psychologist. I did try to go to take psychology lessons in college, but I'm not that. But I think sometimes you could work with a seagull client, which is someone who is far away, and then they come in at one point, swoop in and carpet bomb everything. Oh, everything's terrible. Then they leave, and their employees that work for them are beaten up, and then their employees beat you up, and all this. And to me, I don't know if it's a psychological issue. I'm not, I don't have the degree to judge that. I just think my company doesn't fit that style of behavior from a client. So it's like, okay, that doesn't fit us. So
Yeah.
I let clients go that behave like that. I just let them
Good.
go. I'm nice about it. I tell them, you're a seagull, you're swooping in and you're beating up your people, which I don't like. And you're beating up my people, which I will not stand for. And it's like, and they get it. They get the message.
Yeah. Well, I've had to do that too. And it's kind of the challenge to look at somebody in the eyes and say, we're not a good fit. I think you need to go
Right.
elsewhere because I want to help everybody.
I
But
know.
you're right. Agencies and businesses and their clients really do need to have that connection,
Right.
especially marketing agencies, right? We have to really be dedicated to that brand. We have to feel good about what we're doing, and that elevates our results in my experience, in my opinion. So when you have a clash between agency and client, the results don't happen
Mhm.
because it feels like on this end there's always a block, and on this end it's like it's like, there's been few and far between that I've ever had to do that, but you're
Yeah.
100% right. And we are selective, and you'll hear agencies probably say this all the time, but we're selective about who we work with
Mhm.
because of how much heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears we put into these campaigns. So we want to make sure that connection is real because you just have to. In my opinion, it's a necessity
Yep.
to build that relationship. Whether it's a good thing or not, most of my clients end up friends. And if we ever part ways in business, we all end up still being friends. And I get referrals and all of that. So I do try to build those relationships. And I think that's fantastic. I
Yeah.
love that you are considering your team's needs, your team's feelings, because there's so many business owners out there that really just they don't care, especially now. It seems like a business is changing quite a bit. I would say post COVID.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
compliments to you, my friend. Compliments to you.
Thank you.
So we're talking about brand differentiation. So what do you think are some key elements that you believe make a brand truly stand out, especially in like today's competitive market, right?
I think there are a few things that are really important. This can fit individuals as well as small and large companies. We have to realize that our experience that we give to customers, so you can call it customer experience, you could call it customer service, whatever you want to call it, in the eyes of that customer, that is your brand. So if you are a brilliant car company and you produce amazing products, and the consumer goes into the dealership and gets a horrible experience shopping that car, they will leave not only hating the dealer, but hating your brand because they don't stop and go, now, wait a minute, let me think about that. The people who built that car, they're probably good fellows and women. I bet they're fine people. I will never hold this against them, but I will hold it against the dealership and the people behind them. No, nobody thinks like that. They think, you know what? That brand, that dealer, they all stink. I'm never buying from them. So we have to realize the experience is the brand. So it's very important. We have to realize also there is a major pressure today, and there has been for years, to commoditize. We are being pressured to lower our price, whether we're talking to large companies and they're sending RFPs to us and their procurement group is saying, lower your price, do this, do that, or whether it's just we're looking at our competition and we're going, you know what, they all have a mole, we need a mole, or none of them have a mole, we got to remove our mole. We're trying to be like everybody else. And in doing that, here's our danger. We have to do something to win then, right? Because we're not different anymore. So you know what? Let's lower our price. And when we start to lower our price, guess what? We start taking away even more of our stuff. So it's really bad. And then we start taking away more of the cool stuff we do. And then our employees go, why do I work here? We used to be so good. This place stinks anymore. They've lost their way. So it is, as some people call a slippery slope. But we must fight being commoditized. So big things, your experience, very, very important. Okay. Avoid being a commodity. And that's why looking at your distinctiveness is important. And whether you want to call it differentiation, which is, 15 letters and 6 syllables, or you just say, hey, being different, whatever you want to call it, it's not being superior in all fashions, but it is identifying what you do. Final thing I would say on this, Erica, is this. When we talk with clients and we are trying to learn what they do that's unique, we also then interview, and I'm sure you do this in your business, we talk to their employees, we talk to their customers, their suppliers. We ask this question, and feel free to do this with your clients. We ask this question of all of those groups. We say, what do you want to make sure that this company does not change? What should they not change? And you will start to find, it's an aha, isn't it? You go, oh my gosh, because so many of us will change anything. Hey, I'll change this. You want to change this? Sure, we'll change. Okay, we'll lower this. We'll change it. Okay, we'll raise this over here. Okay, what should they not change? And then all of a sudden, you find some things, not 100 again, a couple of things. You don't want 100 great things because then that means you're delusional and you'll be institutionalized. You can't say I do 100 things great. That's insanity. But if you do those couple of things and your customers and your employees say, boy, I hope we never change this, you better hold on to those things. Yes. Do not change them. Those are my hints. Those are my recommendations.
I love it. Yeah. I 100% tracking with you. I think that makes a lot of sense. I've always asked, what do you want to happen? What do you want to reach for? What are your goals? I've never asked, what do you not want to change? That is definitely going in my notes for future conversations. So thank you for sharing that. And I hope that my listeners I guess it's our listeners. They're not all mine. Our listeners rewind that, listen to that, a few times even, because I've been in this industry for, like I said, 15 years, but that one question I've never asked. I can only imagine how that's going to be a game changer.
It is.
I love it. Love it. Do you find that brands struggle with dropping their prices nowadays, that it's something everybody feels that they need to do? Are you seeing more and more of that?
No, I'm not. I know that it's out there, but the brands that we work with are focusing on other things, and let's lower price. So most of our clients are either fairly in demand or have products that they feel they need to charge a fair price for because they are either a premium or a higher quality product. So we're not running into it. It's probably because we're not appealing to the company that's doing that kind of stuff. We're more appealing to the company that says, hey, we don't want to have to go down that slope. So we're not running into that.
Yeah.
If it costs us more to do everything today than it did, a year ago. So, I mean, I can't go lower prices.
Our agency does a little bit different. I'm seeing a lot of people asking, in groups, what are people's pricing? And there's so many people out there, or, entrepreneurs, business owners that are really lowballing things.
Yeah.
And then they'll come to me and they'll be like, wait a minute, that's a lot more than person A quoted me. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a difference, right? Person A, I am assuming, is just chasing the money rather
Right.
than really wanting to provide value. We
Right.
provide value. We become part of your brand. We create the strategy
right.
alongside of you. And so, no, we don't drop our, we've actually increased our prices for that exact same reason, because everything is costing us more. But I believe if you want cheap, you're not going to achieve your goals. In
Right.
my
If you're not differentiated, Erica, then you got to lower your price. But if there's something unique that they can't get elsewhere, you have a fighting chance. And remember, 16 out of 17 companies go out of business by their 10th anniversary. 16
Yeah.
out of 17. So we are competing against 16 companies that are going to go out of business, probably because of the way they are pricing themselves.
Mm-hmm. Or running their business,
right?
With their team. And 16 out of 17, Barry. That's
Oh yeah.
wow.
10 years.
I feel like
Oh yeah.
yes. 15.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, because think of how many people start out and they're, like 6 months, I give up. And oh yeah, it's sure.
It's interesting. So I have a sales coach too. His name is Ron Koenigsberg, and he is one of the most respected and brokerage agents in New York. And so he helps me understand sales, because I am a strategist by heart. I am a marketer by trade. And I am a people person by education. I'm not a salesperson. So he's teaching me different things. And what I was thinking about when you said the 16 out of 17, Barry, is that most people stop the sales attempt at 4, right? They stop trying to contact the consumer at 4, but most sales actually happen at contact number 5. And so that's what I'm kind of hearing is like business owners, they don't get to that pivotal point. It's the same with podcasting, right? Most people stop at 50. And then the second highest is 100. So it's like they just end it. So I'm very interested to that 16 out of 17, like that blows my mind, because I did not think it would be that high. But here we are. We're still standing, right? We're still standing. Okay. So, what I know what I feel on this behalf, but I really am interested in what you think. What are some of the most effective strategies that you've seen companies use to highlight those unique differentiators?
Here are a couple of things I see are very successful, which is if you're a company that has individuals out there and dealers or distributors that are representing your product, then go and create an online academy or university so that they learn about you, so that the newbies, the new ones that come in, learn about you, so that every year they're updating their knowledge so that they have a pride in knowing more about you and representing you. So that's a big thing to look at. And it's also not that expensive because you're not advertising. These are people who, in essence, work for or with you. So I would say that would be my number one thing to do. Make sure the people are educated on what makes you unique and different, what is behind the why of your company.
Wow. Yeah, 100%. And again, it goes back to employees become brand ambassadors if you give them what they need to do so. So that's fantastic. Okay. So making sure your team, their brand ambassadors, that you give them the resources to fully understand and be part of that brand. That's vital. What's one more?
One more. Well, let's see. There are a few other things. I think you have to make sure that your brand experience is authentic to you. So it's not just being nice or being friendly or being whatever. But if you are a very innovative company, your brand experience should be innovative. If you are a technologically advanced company, you better have a technologically advanced experience. You cannot have a piece of paper as part of your experience if you are a technology wizard. So you have to make sure that you are in lockstep with your brand when it comes to your experience.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. For us, you use the word authentic a few times here. And Jason says that word is used too much now in our industry, but I coach all of my clients that they have to be authentic and transparent. And we use a lot of video marketing, video content marketing, pushing out on social. If you're fake, people are going to see it, right? They're going to understand. Then they're going to think, wait a minute, is their product really what they live up to be? So it's that authenticity, that transparency. That's what consumers are connecting with now.
Right.
And your brand needs to show that as well, almost to a point of vulnerability in a sense.
I mean, I guess the thing I'll leave you with on that is that if you're not in touch with what makes you unique, it's very hard to have an authentic or genuine experience. Think about it. I mean, I don't even know who I am. So who do I have to be today to go do it? Boy, that is tough. But if you realize, here's what we really do that's unique. We really think it's great for you. We're not claiming to be perfect humans, but we will deliver this. That is more sustainable, right?
Yes. It gives me goosebumps. Yeah, exactly. So can you tell me, are there common pitfalls that brands should avoid when trying to differentiate themselves?
I think being too complex, having too many. I think trying to, as I mentioned earlier, confuse superiority of product to differentiation. I think realize, and here's one I think is very interesting, that when you launch your new product, look at that as a relaunch of your brand. Yep, that's a doozy. Do it. Because that new product, by the way, ought to reflect your brand, shouldn't it? Well, if it does, then you ought to be relaunching that brand along with the new product.
Yes, you are a rock star.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
If you got a brand new product and you're excited and you're going to launch it, that's great. Make sure that your brand itself is also benefiting, that you're not just focused only on that product, so that when that launch for the product's over, nobody thinks that your brand's any better. Instead, this new product represents the best of our brand. It has blah, blah, blah. That's what our brand is about, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Oh, that makes complete sense. Okay. Can you give me a success story? Maybe something that you started off with that you're like, but then just, fireworks.
I'll give you one success story. I worked with Audi cars many years ago. They had a lot of success. They were doing really well. They had been kind of an underperformer, and then they were doing really well, but they were discounting their product to go hit some sales numbers. So what happened was a new leader came in and he said, we are not discounting. We're going to stand up for the brand and we're going to demand the price it deserves. But here's what's interesting. He did not back down, and it turned out to be right. They ended up demanding the right price and hit their all-time sales record. So that's an example.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. I kind of, while you were talking about that, I was thinking, I wonder if he's done any jingles I would remember or I would know.
We did a jingle for Wendy's. We did jingles for Disney, things like that. But it's been a long time.
Well, it's still cool. I'm like, I can remember some jingles in my head now that I'm like, man, that's been in my head for 18 years. Mm-hmm. That means it's good, right? Yeah. Okay. So as we mentioned, we're talking to aspiring entrepreneurs or maybe business owners who are trying to find a new step forward, what advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs? What do you think is going to make the most meaningful impact that they can do?
I would leave them with this advice. I would say that especially aspiring entrepreneurs, where you're not going to have a lot of arms and legs running around doing things for you, when it comes down to it, don't compromise what you really stand for. So if you're really a creative shop and you're doing something creative, or you're a technology person and you're doing some technology, that is what you stand for in the eyes of your customer. And even if it means you're going to get a little less business from some other client because you have to go focus on doing this one right, do it right. Don't cut corners, because that's what your brand is. And I think that's the thing I would leave everybody with.
That's perfect. Phenomenal advice. Thank you. So since my podcast is called Innovative Entrepreneurs Podcast, I always ask, who's been the most influential entrepreneur or even person in your life to date?
My wife has been. So my wife is the most influential person in my life because she believed in me. So now I just divorced her, and you say, no, I'm joking. She and I've been married for a long time. I almost blew your brain up, right? No. She and I have a great relationship, and she was there for me and believed in me and allowed me to be who I was.
That's beautiful. I don't think anybody's given that answer yet. I mean, not your wife, obviously.
Hopefully not.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Barry, where can our listeners find you? Like, where would you like them to reach out?
I'd like you to reach out to my website, barrylabov.com or labov.com, or reach me at LinkedIn and leave a message. There's some free documents you can download without leaving your email on my website. Just have fun with it. And if I can help you, let me know.
Fantastic. Well, we'll make sure all of your links, Instagram, website, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, looks like you have all of them. Good job, Barry, from a social marketer. I'm proud of you. And we'll make sure that those are all available. Thank you, Barry. You've been a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's been fun. All right, everybody. Again, this is Innovative Entrepreneurs. If you liked what I had to say, or of course Barry had to say, please give us a comment or a like. It really helps us get out there. And our goal is to support and help other entrepreneurs grow and build their life by design. So if they get to listen to this, it will help them in that path. So again, thank you, Barry. And we will talk again soon.
Thank you, Erica.
Wow, what a great episode. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want more of this goodness, make sure you subscribe so that you get notifications for future podcasts. And if you found value from this, please share it with others. You can visit our website at cwgdigital.com. This is Erica Bailey. I am your host, and I will see you next time.